Once again, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the fearless revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso, has proven why he's the worst nightmare of Africa's corrupt, spineless leaders. This man doesn't play games, doesn't bow to foreign masters, and certainly doesn't underestimate the power of his people. Traoré is here to build a Burkina Faso that stands tall, a Burkina Faso that feeds itself, a Burkina Faso that exports its bounty to the world, not as a beggar but as a proud, sovereign giant. And this week, he sent shockwaves rippling across Africa with a decision so bold, so visionary, that it's got every Pan-Africanist heart beating with pride and every sellout leader trembling in their imported suits. On Wednesday, during the Council of Ministers meeting in Ouagadougou, Traoré's government dropped a bombshell that's got the whole continent buzzing: the creation of the Faso Slaughterhouse Agency, or Faso-YA, as it's also being called. This isn't just another bureaucratic outfit, my people. This is a game changer. According to Minister Dicko, this agency will centralize and professionalize the management of national and regional slaughterhouses, modernize infrastructure to align them with health and environmental standards, and develop integrated logistics for livestock supply and product distribution. You hear that? This isn't about shipping live animals across borders to be processed by someone else while Burkina Faso's farmers scrape by on crumbs. No, this is about turning Burkina Faso into West Africa's leading exporter of processed meat, fresh, packaged, and stamped with the pride of a nation that's finally taken control of its destiny. Let me tell you something, friends. This move is pure genius. For too long, Africa's wealth has been siphoned off in raw form, leaving us with nothing but the dust of exploitation. Our cattle, our gold, our cocoa, all shipped out unrefined while foreign powers rake in the profits. But Traoré, he's saying, not on my watch. With the Faso Slaughterhouse Agency, Burkina Faso's livestock farmers, those hard-working men and women who've toiled under the sun for generations, are about to see their lives transformed. Instead of selling live animals at rock-bottom prices to middlemen, they'll now supply a state-backed system that processes meat right here on Burkina-based soil, adding value, creating jobs, and pumping money back into the hands of the people. Imagine the markets of Accra, Lagos and Dakar flooded with Burkina Faso's finest beef and lamb, all while farmers in the villages of Koudougou and Bobo Dioulasso count their earnings with smiles on their faces. This, my people, is what self-reliance looks like. This is what sovereignty tastes like. And don't think for a second that this is some half-baked idea Traoré cooked up overnight. Oh no, this man doesn't underestimate anything. Since he seized power at the tender age of 34, making him the world's youngest head of state, he's shown a laser-sharp focus on lifting his people out of poverty and dependency. He's kicked out the French troops, told the IMF and World Bank to keep their loans, and turned his gaze inward to the real wealth of Burkina Faso, its land and its people. The Faso Slaughterhouse Agency is just the latest chapter in a story of revolution that's got corrupt African leaders sweating bullets. They're terrified because Traoré is exposing their laziness, their cowardice, their willingness to let foreign powers dictate our future while they sip champagne in plush villas. He's proving that a true leader doesn't beg for handouts. He builds systems that work for his people. And now, with this meat export revolution, he's showing the world that Burkina Faso isn't just a player in Africa. It's about to set the pace. But let's not get it twisted, comrades. This meat export bombshell didn't come out of nowhere. It's part of a broader vision. A relentless crusade to revolutionize agriculture in Burkina Faso, a nation where the soil is the heartbeat of the economy. Agriculture isn't just a job here, it's life itself. Over 80% of Burkinabés depend on farming, and for too long, they've been left to fend for themselves, battling drought, land degradation, and a global market rigged against them. Enter Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a man who believes in the power of the land, with a faith so fierce it could move mountains. Under his leadership, agriculture has gone from an afterthought to the cornerstone of Burkina Faso's rebirth. Let me paint you a picture of what this brother has been up to. Since taking the reins, Traoré's government has poured unprecedented resources into the hands of rural farmers, those unsung heroes who feed the nation. We're talking over 400 tractors rumbling across the fields, 239 tillers breaking new ground, 710 motor pumps bringing water to thirsty crops, and 714 motorcycles zipping through villages to connect farmers to markets. This isn't charity, my friends. This is empowerment. Traoré knows that you don't just hand out fish. You teach a nation to fish, and then you give them the boats and nets to catch a whole ocean's worth. And that's exactly what he's doing. But it's not just about the hardware. Traoré's gone deeper, ensuring farmers have access to improved seeds and farm inputs, tools that turn small plots into bountiful harvests. The results? Oh, they're staggering. Tomato production has soared from 315,000 metric tons in 2022 to 360,000 in 2024. Millet, that staple of Burkinabe diets, jumped from 907,000 metric tons to 1.1 million over the same period. And rice, sweet, life-giving rice, climbed from 280,000 metric tons to 326,000. These aren't just numbers, comrades. These are meals on tables, money in pockets and hope in hearts. Every tractor that rolls out, every seed that's planted, is a testament to what happens when a leader prioritizes the needs of his people over the greed of foreign masters. And let's talk about those tomato processing plants. 2 of them, the first of their kind in Burkina Faso. Traoré didn't just stop at growing more tomatoes. He built the infrastructure to process them into paste, puree and sauces right here at home. Before, Burkina Faso was losing millions importing tomato paste while its own harvest rotted or got shipped off to Ghana. Now, those days are over. The Pognyongo plant in Yako launched in December 2024 with a cool $8.9 million investment, can churn out 5 tons of tomatoes per hour. Another in Bobo Dioulasso handles 6 tons an hour. That's value addition, my people, taking what the land gives and turning it into wealth that stays in Burkina Faso. Farmers aren't just growing crops now, they're feeding an industry, and that industry is feeding the nation. What sets Traoré apart isn't just his policies, it's his belief. This man believes in agriculture like a preacher believes in salvation. He sees the dirt under a farmer's nails as the foundation of a free Africa. He knows that a nation that can't feed itself is a nation in chains, and he's hell-bent on breaking those chains one harvest at a time. Last May, he handed out equipment worth over 78 billion CFA francs, tractors, fertilizers, seeds, you name it, telling young Burkinabés to get to work, to form cooperatives, to claim their stake in this agricultural revolution. Food self-sufficiency isn't a dream, he said, it's a mission, and he's backing it up with action. Look at the Livestock Resilience and Competitiveness Project, pre-sell, 206 tons of fodder seeds delivered to herders. Look at the cotton sector, a second processing plant, and the National Support Center for Artisanal Cotton Processing, lifting local farmers out of the shadows of exploitation. Traoré's not just throwing money at problems, he's building systems, ecosystems, where farmers and herders aren't just surviving, they're thriving. And now, with the Faso Slaughterhouse Agency, he's taking that same energy to the livestock game. Modern slaughterhouses, professional management, export-ready meat. This is how you turn a nation of producers into a nation of powerhouses. Let me speak plainly, my brothers and sisters. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is a wake-up call for every African leader who's grown fat off the misery of their people, while they jet off to Paris and New York begging for crumbs. Traoré's in Ouagadougou, building a future, while they sign away our resources to foreign corporations. He's nationalizing gold mines and stopping unrefined exports. While they let farmers drown in debt and despair, he's handing out tractors and seeds like a general arming his troops. This man is showing us what's possible when a leader has the guts to say no to the West and yes to his own people. And oh, how the corrupt tremble. From Nairobi to Abuja, from Pretoria to Yaoundé, the old guard knows their time is up. Traoré's Burkina Faso is a mirror held up to their failures, a mirror they can't bear to look into. Because every ton of meat exported, every tractor in the field, every processing plant humming with life is a rebuke to their decades of incompetence. He's not just revolutionizing Burkina Faso, he's lighting a fire under the whole continent. Young Africans are watching, they're taking notes. They're asking, if Traoré can do it, why can't our leaders? And that, my friends, is the most dangerous question of all. Of course, the road isn't easy. Burkina Faso faces security threats, environmental challenges, and the lingering claws of neocolonialism trying to drag it back. But Traoré's not blinking. He's got Russian allies in his corner, not as masters but as partners, while he keeps the French at bay. He's got a vision that stretches beyond the horizon, and he's got the will to make it real. The Faso Slaughterhouse Agency isn't just about meat. It's about pride, about jobs, about showing the world that Africa can lead. And with agriculture booming under his watch, Burkina Faso's farmers are finally getting their due. So here's to you, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, son of the soil, scourge of the sellouts, hope of a continent. You've got us cheering from every corner of Africa, from the bustling streets of Accra to the quiet villages of the Rift Valley. Keep pushing, keep building, keep showing us what's possible. Because if Burkina Faso can rise, so can we all. And when the history books are written, they'll say it started here, with a young captain who dared to dream of an Africa that feeds itself, an Africa that stands tall, an Africa that bows to no one. Onward, comrade. Africa's watching, and we're ready to march with you. Before I conclude, brothers and sisters of Africa, there is something that I must say, and please allow me say it. It's time we wake up from this slumber of dependency and reclaim the dignity that is ours by right. For too long, our leaders have bowed their heads, hats in hand, trekking across oceans to beg the West for crumbs, crumbs of food, crumbs of aid, crumbs of validation, when the soil beneath our feet is rich enough to feed not just us, but the world. The very idea that Africa, a continent blessed with vast arable land, vibrant climates, and resilient people, should be pleading for handouts is an insult to our ancestors and a betrayal of our children. This must end. African leaders must stop this shameful begging and stand tall on their own 2 feet, united as one people, harnessing the power of our land to break the chains of Western control. Agriculture is our backbone, our liberation, and our future, and no one understands this better than Burkina Faso's visionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Picture this, a continent where Kenya's lush highlands share their maize and tea with Burkina Faso's Sahelian plains, while Burkina Faso sends its hearty millet and sorghum to nourish the east. Imagine Nigeria's yam tubers finding their way to Ghana's markets, and Ghana's cocoa enriching the diets of southern Africa. This is not a dream. It's a possibility staring us in the face, if only our leaders would open their eyes and see the wealth beneath their feet. Africa's soil is a treasure trove, capable of growing anything from the staple grains of the West African savanna to the exotic fruits of the equatorial forests. Yet, here we are, watching our so-called leaders grovel before foreign powers, begging for wheat and rice when we could be growing it ourselves, or better yet, thriving on what our own land produces naturally. Why? Because disunity has convinced us that our soil is barren, that our hands are incapable, that our future lies in the hands of those who once enslaved us. This is the lie the West wants us to believe, and we've swallowed it whole. Let's be real for a moment. The West doesn't want a self-sufficient Africa. A united, thriving continent is their nightmare. A nightmare where their aid packages become irrelevant, their loans lose their grip, and their corporations can't plunder our resources at will. They've spent centuries convincing us that we can't survive without them, that our soil is too dry, too wet, too rocky, too anything to sustain us. And what's worse, too many of our leaders have bought into this rubbish. They've internalized the colonial myth that Africa is a beggar continent, destined to kneel at the feet of Europe and America. But the truth is undeniable. Africa has some of the most fertile land on Earth. From the volcanic soils of Ethiopia to the loamy plains of Zambia, from the river valleys of Mali to the rolling hills of Uganda, we have everything we need to feed ourselves and more. So why are we still begging? Why are we importing food when we could be exporting it? The answer is simple: disunity and a lack of vision. This is where agriculture comes in, not just as a means of survival, but as the bedrock of our independence. Every developed nation in history has built its strength on the foundation of its fields. Look at the United States, with its sprawling corn belts and wheat prairies. Look at China, feeding over 1 billion people through disciplined farming and innovation. Look at India, whose rice paddies and spice farms sustain its economy. Agriculture isn't just about food, it's about power. He who feeds you controls you, as Captain Ibrahim Traoré so wisely said. And right now, the West is feeding us, not out of kindness, but to keep us on a leash. Every shipment of imported grain tightens that leash. Every loan for food security digs us deeper into their debt trap. But it doesn't have to be this way. Africa can feed itself and in doing so, free itself. Take Burkina Faso for example. Under Captain Traoré's leadership, this landlocked West African nation is showing us what's possible when a leader rejects the beggar's script and embraces self-reliance. Since taking power in 2022, Traoré has made agriculture a cornerstone of his revolution. He's not just talking about it, he's doing it. Last year, he handed out over 78 billion CFA francs worth of farming equipment and inputs to Burkinabe farmers, urging them to till the land and grow their own future. He's built tomato processing plants, the first of their kind in Burkina Faso, turning raw produce into value-added goods. He's rejected IMF loans and Western handouts, choosing instead to invest in organic farming and local innovation. The results? Burkina Faso's GDP has jumped from 18.8 billion to 22.1 billion in just 2 years, with agriculture leading the charge. This isn't a fluke, it's a blueprint. Traoré gets it. He understands that a nation that can't feed itself is a nation enslaved. They lie to us about everything, he said in a recent speech, standing among farmers in the fields. They said our lands are arid, that we can't grow sufficient food. But look around you, our soil is alive, our people are ready. He's not wrong. Burkina Faso's Sahel region, often dismissed as a desert wasteland, is producing millet, sorghum, and cowpeas in abundance. With the right investment, irrigation, seeds, tools and knowledge, those yields could double, triple even. And what Burkina Faso can't grow, Kenya can. What Kenya can't grow, South Africa can. This is the beauty of unity, a continent-wide network of trade and cooperation, where every region's strengths fill another's gaps. But instead of building that network, our leaders are too busy squabbling over borders drawn by colonialists, chasing foreign approval, and signing deals that keep us dependent. Let's talk about Kenya for a second. This East African powerhouse has some of the most fertile land in the world. Think of the Rift Valley, where coffee and tea flourish, or the Central Highlands, where maize and bean thrive. Yet Kenya still imports billions of shillings worth of food every year. Wheat, rice, even sugar. Why? Because we've been conditioned to think our soil can't handle certain crops, that we need the West's genetically modified seeds and chemical fertilizers to survive. Meanwhile, Burkina Faso is proving that organic farming can work, that local knowledge can outshine imported solutions. If Kenya and Burkina Faso or Burkina Faso joined hands, imagine the possibilities. Kenya could send its tea and coffee to Ouagadougou, while Burkina Faso ships its millet and shea butter to Nairobi. No middlemen, no Western overlords, just Africans trading with Africans, building wealth together. But unity isn't just about trade, it's about mindset. Our leaders need to stop seeing themselves as rivals and start seeing themselves as brothers. The African Union should be more than a fancy meeting hall in Addis Ababa. It should be a war room for self-sufficiency. Imagine an AU-led initiative to map every inch of Africa's arable land, to identify what grows best where, and to connect farmers across borders. Imagine regional food reserves stocked not with imported wheat, but with African grains, fonio from Senegal, teff from Ethiopia, sorghum from Sudan. Imagine agricultural schools in every country, training our youth to farm smarter, not harder. This isn't pie-in-the-sky thinking, it's practical, doable, and urgent. The West knows this, which is why they work so hard to keep us divided. They fund conflicts, prop up puppet regimes, and flood our markets with cheap imports to kill our local industries. They don't want us to realize that Africa's 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land is a gold mine. They don't want us to see that with unity in agriculture, we could not only feed ourselves, but become a global breadbasket. Look at Ukraine. Before the war, it was called Europe's breadbasket, exporting grain worldwide. Africa could do that and more, but only if we stop begging and start building. Captain Traoré is a beacon in this fight. He's not perfect, no leader is, but he's showing us what courage looks like. He's kicked out French troops, turned to Russia only as a tactical partner, and focused on what matters, his people, his land. He's not begging, he's planting, and he's not alone. Leaders like Uganda's Yoweri Museveni have long preached agricultural modernization, arguing that Africa has no business importing food when it has the land to grow it all. Museveni's push for regional food reserves echoes Traoré's vision of self-reliance. If these two could sit down with Kenya's William Ruto and Nigeria's Bola Tinubu, we might finally see the spark of a real Pan-African agricultural revolution. But it's not just up to the leaders, it's up to us, the people. We need to demand more from those in power. We need to support our farmers, buy local, and reject the imported junk that's poisoning our bodies and our economies. We need to teach our children that farming isn't a last resort. It's a calling, a source of pride. In Burkina Faso, Traoré is urging the youth to join cooperatives and take up the plough. In Kenya, young farmers are experimenting with drought-resistant crops. In Nigeria, agripreneurs are turning cassava into flour and export cash. This is the spirit we need. Grassroots, bottom-up, African-led. So here's the call, loud and clear. African leaders, stop begging the West. Stop believing the lie that our soil is cursed. Stop letting disunity define us. Unite, invest in agriculture, and watch Africa rise. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has lit the torch in Burkina Faso, proving that a small nation can defy the odds and feed itself. If he can do it in the Sahel, we can do it everywhere. Let's share our harvests, our knowledge, our strength. Let's turn our fields into fortresses of freedom, because when Africa feeds itself, no one controls us. And that, my brothers and sisters, is the true meaning of independence. In conclusion, Africa's destiny hinges not on begging the West, but on harnessing the boundless potential of our rich soil. Our leaders must cast aside disunity, embrace self-reliance, and make agriculture the heartbeat of our nations, just as Captain Ibrahim Traoré has done in Burkina Faso.